The opening scene takes place in the African savanna, where a pride of lions reigns over the jungle from Pride Rock. All the animals of the jungle gather together and exuberantly cheer to celebrate the birth of Simba, the son of King Mufasa and Queen Sarabi. Rafiki, a wise baboon who serves as an advisor and spiritual leader to the kingdom, blesses the cub with special dust and lifts him up to the sky. The animals are filled with happiness and excitement as they witness the new cub's arrival. It's a moment of celebration for everyone in the kingdom. However, Mufasa's younger brother Scar has different plans. He desires to take over the crown and become king, while everyone else is busy celebrating. Scar sits alone in the shade, feeling bitter about not being included in the important event. Mufasa and his advisor, a hornbill named Zazu, approach Scar to confront him about his behavior. He coordinates the situation, while concealing his thirst for revenge behind a veil of disdain. As time passes, Mufasa teaches his son Simba about the jungle and the mysteries of life. He emphasizes the importance of respecting all creatures, and tells him that one day he will rule over the land, but he must prepare himself for it. Mufasa shows Simba the entire kingdom, except for the land beyond the northern border, and warns him not to venture beyond the borders, as it is not their territory. One day, Simba visited his uncle Scar's place, and told him that his father had given him a tour of the entire jungle. Scar, who was considering eliminating the future king, cunningly asked Simba why his father had shown him the land beyond the northern border, where the brave cub went. Scar convinced the young cub to prove his bravery to all the lions. Upon hearing this, Simba decided to venture into the Forbidden Land. He sought out his best friend, Nala, and together, the two cubs set out towards the Dark Land. Finally, they reached the graveyard, an eerie location decorated with bones and huge stacks of bones. Eventually, Zazu arrived and informed them that he had searched for them all day. He urged them to leave immediately, as this area did not belong to the lions. However, a sudden howl of a hyena echoed through the air, and a trio of menacing hyenas quickly closed in on them, causing them to flee in terror. The hyenas pursued them relentlessly, and eventually, they found themselves trapped with no escape. Just as all hope seemed lost, Mufasa appeared and launched a fierce attack against the three hyenas, defeating them and saving the day. Mufasa was angry with his son for disobeying him. After they arrived home, he instructed Zazu to escort Nala back to her own home, because he wanted to teach his son a valuable lesson. So he turned to Simba and began to speak. Simba expressed his desire to be brave and fearless like his father, but Mufasa wisely explained the difference between true bravery and mere bravado. He also confessed that even a lion king can experience fear. Mufasa advised Simba to remain resilient and wise even in his absence for the sake of his kingdom. Meanwhile, Scar devises a cunning plan to eliminate his brother Mufasa and his nephew Simba. He negotiates with the scavenger hyenas, offering them food and working together to orchestrate the death of the king and his son. The hyenas agree to his proposal. In the morning, Scar deceived Simba with lies and smooth talk, luring him to a curvy canyon and instructing him to wait there until his return. While Simba was playing in the valley, Scar signaled to a pack of hyenas, who were hiding in front of a huge group of wildebeest. The hyenas frightened the wildebeest, making them run quickly down the narrow valley. Simba heard a loud noise, and turned around to see the wildebeests charging straight at him. He ran away as fast as he could and finally managed to grab hold of a tree. Meanwhile, Scar ran to Mufasa and informed him of the stampede in the gorge, and that Simba was down there. Mufasa immediately charged into the path of the stampede to rescue his son. As they arrived at the scene, they discovered Simba perched precariously on a tree that was beginning to break. Upon seeing this, Mufasa immediately jumped into action and bravely charged towards the stampeding wildebeests. With his last bit of strength, Mufasa managed to lift Simba to safety onto a nearby ledge. However, the stampede was too strong, and Mufasa struggled to save himself. In his moment of desperation, he looked up and saw his brother Scar watching from above on the cliff. Mufasa begged for Scar's help, but to his horror, Scar pushed him into the herd of wildebeests. After the stampede had subsided, Simba frantically searched for his father, and eventually found him lying lifeless on the ground, broken and gasping for breath. It was then that Scar appeared and cruelly shifted the blame for Mufasa's death onto Simba, convincing him that he was responsible for the tragedy that had occurred. Scar ordered Simba to run away and never return, and due to his uncle's convincing lies, Simba believed him and began to flee. Scar ordered the hyenas to kill him, in order to eliminate any potential threat to his rule. The hyenas followed Simba to the edge of an incline, where he fell into brambles. Despite his small size, he escaped unharmed from the sharp spikes, while the hyenas struggled to stop. As they observed Simba fleeing towards the far-off desert, the hyenas concluded that he would likely be dead. In Pride Rock, Scar appeared with a fake sad face and lied to the other lions about the deaths of both Simba and Mufasa. Scar then declared himself the new king and announced that the lions and hyenas would now live together. The hyenas arrived and settled at Pride Rock alongside Scar. As Rafiki watched this scene unfold, his heart was broken by the deaths of Mufasa and his son. Simba was lying unconscious in the desert because he didn't have enough water or food and was too weak to keep going. Two animals, Timon and Pumbaa, saw some vultures trying to attack him and scared them away by making loud noises. They found out that Simba, so they decided to take him to safety in the jungle, thinking that he might protect them in the future and be on their side. Upon waking up in an unfamiliar place, Simba expresses his gratitude for saving him before he rises to leave. However, Timon and Pumbaa manage to persuade him to stay with them and introduce him to their philosophy of Hakuna Matata, which means living life without any worries. They encourage him to leave his past behind and focus on the present. They take him on a tour of their lush jungle paradise and teach him to eat bugs instead of meat, if he chooses to live with them. As time passes, Simba grows into a big lion, far away from the Pride Lands. In Pride Rock, due to overhunting, all the green areas have turned into drought-ridden landscapes. As a result of the prolonged drought, the usual prey animals have migrated elsewhere, leaving no food source for the predators. Consequently, the starving hyena pack has resorted to demanding food from Scar in a rude manner, since the lionesses have refused to hunt. One night in the jungle, Simba and his friends lay down, gazing up at the twinkling stars. Simba's mind drifted back to a similar night spent with his beloved father, who had shared with him the wisdom that each star represents the great kings of the past. As he recalled this memory, a sense of sorrow washed over Simba, prompting him to wander off alone to contemplate his father's absence. As he lay down, he idly played with some plant seeds, which were soon carried away by the gentle breeze towards where Rafiki, the wise shaman, resided. Through his spiritual art, Rafiki discovered that Simba was alive and was filled with overwhelming joy. In the jungle, Timon and Pumbaa were on the hunt for a bug when Pumbaa spotted one and followed it, only to suddenly come face to face with a pair of hungry lioness eyes. Terrified, Pumbaa screamed and ran for his life, but the lioness chased him aggressively. Hearing his friend's screams, Timon sprang into action to rescue him. Unfortunately, in his attempt to escape, Pumbaa became trapped in the roots of a nearby tree. Despite Timon's best efforts to free him, the lioness drew ever closer. However, Simba leapt from the trees with a mighty roar and saved them. As they began to fight, Simba suddenly recognized that she was Nala from his childhood. Though Nala initially did not recognize him, she was astounded when he revealed his true identity. Having thought him dead, Simba was overwhelmed with happiness as he introduced her to his friends, and together they strolled through the lush jungle. The romantic atmosphere enveloped them, igniting a strong attraction between them and filling their hearts with joy. After spending a good amount of time together, Nala implores Simba to accompany her back to the Pride Lands, which rightfully belonged to him, and assume his role as king to restore order and rescue their community. Despite her heartfelt plea, Simba refuses and asserts that he is not fit to be a ruler, as he considers his current home his true one. Infuriated by Simba's response, Nala stresses that it is his obligation to reclaim his position as king. However, the disagreement between the two remains unresolved. Overwhelmed by the conflict, Simba storms off and leaves Nala behind. He is haunted by the belief that he is responsible for his father's demise, and worries that he won't be welcomed back by the other lions. Seeking solace and guidance, Simba sat alone with a heavy heart, when his solitude was abruptly interrupted by a curious song. As he observed from a distance, he noticed a baboon dancing on a tree. Simba initially thought the baboon was crazy, but Rafiki revealed that he knew Simba's father, Mufasa, and informed him that his father was still alive. After imparting this news, Rafiki quickly ran off, and Simba followed in pursuit. After catching up with him, Rafiki instructed him to gaze into a pool of water. As Simba looked into the water, he suddenly saw an image of his father, Mufasa. Rafiki then told Simba that Mufasa lives within him. Just then, a large storm cloud appeared overhead, and the sound of Mufasa's voice filled the air, reminding Simba that he had forgotten who he was, and that he must take his rightful place as the true king of Pride Rock. Simba finally decided to confront his past by returning to Pride Rock and taking his rightful place as king. He then ran towards Pride Rock with determination, In the jungle, Timon and Pumbaa were sleeping when Nala approached them and asked about Simba's whereabouts. However, they didn't have any information. Just then, Rafiki appeared overhead and proclaimed that the king had returned. Nala was overjoyed upon hearing this news, and explained the situation to Timon and Pumbaa. Together, they all rushed to Pride Rock. After a long journey, Simba finally arrives in the Pride Lands. As he reaches the borders of his kingdom, he is met with a scene of utter desolation. Suddenly Nala, Timon, and Pumbaa appear beside him. They all agree to help him reclaim the throne. Then Timon and Pumbaa successfully distract the hungry hyenas, enabling Simba and Nala to enter Pride Rock. Once they're inside, Simba directs Nala to rally the lionesses, and he went too on find Scar. Eventually, he discovers Scar at the base of Pride Rock, verbally abusing his mother Sarabi over hunting. When Scar resorts to hitting her, Simba intervenes to defend his mother, who he witnessed being mistreated. Upon catching sight of him, Scar was overcome with fear. Simba stepped down from the throne to either fight him or hear him out. As the lions gathered around, they informed Simba that he was the true king. Nevertheless, the wily Scar regained his confidence by informing all the lions that Mufasa had died because of Simba's actions, and that he was the murderer. Simba admitted his past mistakes, explaining that it was an accident, but failed to notice that Scar had led him to a perilous cliff. In an instant, Simba slipped and found himself dangling from the edge. As he struggled to stay alive, Scar whispered to him that he had killed his father in the same way. Enraged, Simba leapt over the edge and pinned Scar, choking him until he confessed the truth to the lionesses. Scar admitted that he was the one who killed Mufasa, but then ordered the hyenas to attack Simba. The hyenas jumped over Simba, and a fierce battle broke out between the hyenas and the lions. As the hyenas began to lose the war, Scar attempted to flee. However, Simba pursued him and eventually cornered him at the top of Pride Rock. Scar pleaded for his life and tried to blame the hyenas for his actions, but they overheard his excuse. Despite this, Scar launched a surprise attack, leading to a fierce fight. After a grueling struggle, Simba managed to overpower Scar and sent him tumbling over the edge of Pride Rock. Scar landed at the base where the hyenas, upon learning of his betrayal, turned on him and viciously attacked until Scar was killed. Over time, the Pride Lands spring back to life once again, as a balance is restored, with the growth of tender shoots and sweet grasses that attract great herds to the waterhole. Furthermore, the union of Simba and Nala brings forth a new cub, and the sacred ceremony is reenacted as Rafiki raises the infant high for all to behold, filling the world with joyous songs once again.